Europe is not happy with Donald Trump's impotent attempts at peace in Ukraine, and they just let the world know. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. The war in Ukraine continues to drag on and on, despite Donald Trump's repeated assurances that he could end it on his first day in office. He now says he was only exaggerating, but given the number of times he repeated that exaggeration on the campaign trail, I have to say he was either lying or delusional. I mean, take your pick. That has not helped in the ongoing push for peace and Russian withdrawal from Ukraine. In this latest episode of the saga, Trump announced yesterday that he would speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin to begin a ceasefire and talks for lasting peace. Of course, that overlooks the fact that Putin has a history of violating his own ceasefires, but never mind. Have a look.
President Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin in a 2.5-hour call where he appeared to back off his pressure on the Russian president for an immediate ceasefire. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz has the story. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. The call between Putin and Trump was lengthy and seemingly friendly. The two addressed one another by first names, but there is no sign that anything significant happened in the pursuit of peace. Overnight, President Trump at a Kennedy Center event at the White House saying his call showed signs of progress, referring to the man who started the deadly war as a gentleman.
My little conversation with a nice gentleman named Vladimir Putin.
Despite the laughter, Russia's brutal assault on Ukraine, now in its fourth year, shows no sign of stopping, despite President Trump's optimism right after the call.
I think something's going to happen. It's a very big egos involved, I tell you. Big egos involved. But I think something's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I'd just back away and they're going to have to keep going.
President Trump may want it to wrap up, and Ukraine's President Zelensky certainly does, already committing to a 30-day ceasefire. But there were no breakthroughs with Russia, no indication that Vladimir Putin intends to join a ceasefire, and no indication of any real pressure on Putin.
I said, when are we going to end this, Vladimir? I've known him for a long time now. I said, when are we going to end this bloodshed, this bloodbath? It's a bloodbath. And I do believe he wants to end it.
And believe me, it gets even more embarrassing. Stay with me here. Trump added that he was willing to end sanctions on Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. But for all Trump's positive remarks, privately, he has told aides and donors that Putin wants to annex all of Ukraine and make it part of Russia, which is why all peace talks or negotiations up to this point have fallen apart. It's also why Putin continues to violate ceasefires, sometimes within hours of declaring them. For more on all of that backstory, see our other videos here on the channel. As for Trump's threat to walk away from talks if Putin doesn't allow a ceasefire, that may be his way of looking for an out to all of this. Trump is beholden to Putin, not just because of his alleged blackmail material, but because Putin has also said he will allow Trump to build a Trump Tower Moscow, a dream project for Trump since the 1980s. Again, for more on that, see our other videos here on the channel. As for today's breaking news, it turns out Trump has been played again, or at least, it looks that way. Multiple outlets, including Reuters, now report that the United Kingdom and European Union are not waiting for American leadership in negotiation of a ceasefire. In fact, they're so confident Trump has already failed the assignment that they are going to institute more far-reaching sanctions on Russia. Following the Trump-Putin call yesterday, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova told reporters that Russia would never bow to what she called ultimatums, and claimed that Kyiv was the lone holdout for a ceasefire. Today, France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said, quote, "Let us push Vladimir Putin to put an end to his imperialist fantasy," unquote. So in other words, these latest peace and ceasefire talks have fallen apart despite Trump and MAGA claiming they've created peace in Europe. It's simply not true. And more importantly, the fact that Trump is willing to relax longtime sanctions on Russia, some of which have been in place since the annexation of Crimea in 2014, it shows he has no idea what he's doing at the negotiating table. Thus, the war continues, costing the lives of Russians and Ukrainians, and further pressuring Europe to remilitarize. It's hard to overstate the danger here. Most of Europe is part of NATO, so if Russia attacks any of them, or if they attack someplace that has NATO troops that the UK or EU have sent to Ukraine, it would result in a larger, major war. And even if the US is somehow refusing to honor its NATO commitments, a war that sees Russia fighting the rest of Europe would have catastrophic consequences for the United States, collapsing the world economy, disrupting supply chains of goods and resources, and inviting escalation from the rest of the world. This is a powder keg, and Putin is throwing matches at it. And Trump is doing nothing to stop him. In the meantime, freedom-loving American patriots, like me, and I'm guessing like you, continue to stand with Ukraine and our European allies, even if our cognitively impaired grifter president does not. Someone needs to pass a note to Marco Rubio. Get your lips off Trump's behind and go do your job. This is Occupy Democrats.